Hey folks, Rob back with another Rob Plays, and bit of a new video this week. Finally looking at something I've been wanting to look at for a long time, but hardware troubles have prevented that from happening. But I finally have a working Atari 8-bit in the house, and I'm finally checking out the conversion of Time Pilot. Originally released at the Wapniak party in 2017, an enhanced version came out May 2018, about a year afterwards, and is an utterly amazing conversion of Konami's arcade game. So let's hit fire and hit start. So one of the things is it's zoomed in, but it basically looks as good as the original arcade game. They've really, and it's just as tricky, but it looks just as good as the arcade game, just a little zoomed in, which what they want to get out of the machine's really good. It's a move I respect. Personally, I wish it was zoomed out a little more. You really kind of want that extra area, but it's Time Pilot and it's brutal. But one of the reasons I think I was really excited when seeing this version, even its compo release come out, was fairly late 2017. I did a video which looked at the MSX conversion that Konami themselves put out, and it is a conversion that was targeted at the MSX1. It came out the first year of the MSX1. And is kind of a little limited in a lot of areas. And you can sort of see that Time Pilot here on the Atari is... So this requires... it's worth noting, this requires a 64K machine. So that's pretty much a 600XL expanded, with expanded memory, an 800XL, an XEGS, 65, 130, or 800XE. I don't quite understand the expansion options for original 400s and 800s. So I think you can get those to have more RAM. They're beyond the 48K, and I think if you can get those up there, they will as well. I'm sure someone who's an Atari fan will know that stuff a little better than I do. I mean, I pretty much had, this is actually on a 130XC, which I just acquired, and all my old Atari stuff is done on 800XL, which I need to fix, sadly, which is why there's been no Atari stuff for 18 months on the channel. Alright, second stage is gone. I've got to play the arcade version. I haven't played the arcade version in ages, but I swear it did feel a little longer in levels, but hey. Oh, that was close. Like, everything you want here. If you want Time Pilot, this is it. I'm not really feeling much slowdown, if there is any. I don't think there is. Controls feel really tight and responsive. That feel great. You need those really precise controls for Time Pilot because of just the nature of dogfighting. There we go. Well, 2 stages done. I like they've even got all the sequences. As I said, this requires 64K RAM, so good chunk of machines will handle it. It is available for both PAL and NTSC machines, and all it is just a standard Atari XEX executable. So you can just run it. I'm running it off an Ultimate cart. But I'm sure, you can boot it off use APE or... darn it, and that's game over. You can use APE or... oh, no, it's my last life, okay. I thought it was out of lives. Oh, that's a bit chunky, okay. So there's some slowdown. But yeah, so you can use whatever device or copy back onto a disc. I saw some inklings in the Atari Age forums that it may be getting a physical release. If that's the case... I'll include a link in the video description. I'll definitely include a link to the download. Oh, 1982. I'll definitely include a link to the download. It's a free download. It's actually, if you want to tinker, the source is available. Oh, I've got one more life left. Okay. Gosh, I'm always terrible at this stage. That's a lot of planes. I believe there's also a special mode, if I read the site correctly, if you have an accelerator board, which I don't, I keep it stock, that makes things even more hectic, but hey, that's a good run. Time Pilot on this machine is incredible. Let's go have another game, and then we're gonna do a 2-part of this video, because I want to actually show off another really good arcade conversion, homebrew arcade conversion that is also one I've covered in some point on the channel before, which you'll have seen from the intro. Anyway, let's have another run. Scary times. Ooh, getting tense, isn't it? But yeah, controls feel great. Graphics are really up there off the arcade machine. I believe it's all software sprite engines. They're not using lots of they're using the capabilities in unique ways. But it's fast, it's frenetic, it's fluid. The controls are great. The audio is good enough for what Time Pilot has. It doesn't really have. 1982 arcade games don't really have memorable soundtracks, so it's not much of a surprise here. And Time Pilot never had speech or anything, and so really, what's done here is utterly sublime. Even if you're just going to play it on an emulator, Altera or something else, I don't know. Atari emulation on the Mac is horrible at the moment. The only decent emulator was a port of Atari 800, and that port has been abandoned for a very long time and is slowly suffering entropy. So yeah, I've really been out of Atari fun since the XL died, which hopefully I'll sort out soon. I think I'd like to have it. I mean, I don't know if I'll do a spin-off of review the 130XE, but I don't like the keyboard as much as the XLs. But stage 2 is done. One thing that trips me up a bit is the scoring. That your score is the top. Your score is the top right of the screen, not the top left. So I look it up and I saw my score from my previous game, 52,000, and it's like, oh, did I beat my score? And it's like, no, I didn't. And this run through 1970 is seriously taking me out. Oh, okay. Yes. This is great. This is really, like, I think this lives up to what the Atari machines were good for. They were good for just, that was cheap. The Atari machines are good for just, like, excellent conversions of arcade games. That seemed to be where they just, I think because it's what Atari, it's just who Atari was. They're just arcade. So all these arcade games are what really make the machine special. Anyway, we're on to my last life, and it's 1982. So we're not going to be playing Time Pilot for much longer. Oh! I predicted that, didn't I? So, that's Time Pilot. That is amazing. Do check it out, especially if you enjoy the Atari 8-bits, and if you're just going to emulate, really go check it out. It's an amazing bit of work that just shows what, little dedication, let's just fill it with bees, can do in this day and age. Now, if you don't mind me, I'm just going to hit reset on this thing, and I'm going to load up the second game that I wanted to show in this video. So, and I'm back. And yes, it's the Atari version of Bosconian. I've been watching this in development for so long, and I'm so glad to see it come out. If you remember, it was sort of mid-2016, a Shmup-Timber video I did where I did Bosconian on the MSX, which is a great version, and Mastertronic's adaptations for the Spectrum and 64, which range from not very good to utterly terrible, in the case of the C64 one. But this version on the Atari, I think, blows even that MSX one away. So I've just got its intro. It's even got the arcade attract mode there. So good. This is the version that came out of a party called Silly Venture, as you can see at the bottom. Again, it's a free download, but off the Atari Age forums. The name, I just realised the name, Atari 130XE. So Bosconian, on the other hand, whereas Time Pilot was able to run on a 64K machine, Bosconian you can play on a 64K, there's versions, but you really want a 130XE or a machine with expanded memory to play, because it has the arcade speed. So let's hit fire. There it is. And so, obviously you lose the resolution because the Atari tends to be a little chunkier visually, but you get a lot more colours. I actually like the artwork's got a little more colour in it than the MSX version, and probably even the original arcade game. I haven't played that in ages. Namco, please make that available on Switch. Make a second Namco museum, please. But it's Bosconian. It feels good. It's a little. I think it's a little easier to start with than the definitely the MSX version. Oh, that was brutal. And I really love the indicators on the side now, because you don't just get the speech, but you get the you also get the you also get those indicators. And I remember seeing in development, I wasn't sure, but it helps now because I'm not playing with audio because to not interfere with the capture. But I really do think it's a good addition. And it's, again, the controls are just absolutely perfect, responsive, fluid, can't interfere. I mean, visually is great, sounds great. They do a nice take of the arcade games soundtrack, as limited as it is, and it's Bosconian, and it's great. I'm probably not going to stop saying that because that's really all I have to say. This is really what, this is what I love about seeing new games from, I love seeing revisits of arcade games. There's been plenty I've done on the 64, the third version of Donkey Kong that came out at the start of 2016, and other such works, like the Frogger Arcade as well. There's been plenty of great bits of work there. And I'm really kind of excited to see a bit more on the Atari, because most stuff on the Atari is always just like conversions and stuff, but getting a new or a conversion from another code base, whereas this is like a fresh conversion, and it's so good. Really, this is an absolute standout. Makes me, and it's one of those reasons. It's like the Ataris are machines that are really underrated. I think the piracy thing damaged them so much in the US market. They were just a little too pricey for the European market, and because tape, to get technical, the tape interface on the Atari, the way it works is really slow. And so I think they're just, commercially, you really needed to have a disk drive and kind of expensive computer, especially with the original 800 and everything else. It sort of all adds up. But this is great. I don't know if there are plans to consider a physical run of this, but even if that's the case, not the case, there isn't. It's still one that is absolutely worth downloading and checking out. It's an absolute great, like I said, having the speech as you do in this version is an absolute great reason to have a 130XE, or to have, or to look into all those memory expansion mods that you can get for a 800XL or 600XL or XEGS or 65XE. Gosh, there's a lot of it's worth it. I'll really give them this for really pushing what the game can do and the hardware. So do go check this one out. Happy to actually be able to do Atari stuff again. And I'll be working on bringing that into some multi-platform episodes and other bits coming up. Means I have to start hunting. I can start hunting Atari games down again. Ooh, was that? Oh, that was a formation. Ooh, that was close. Okay. Yeah. You do get the spy ships, and they do have the warning speech. I haven't had conditioned red yet, though. I've been very lucky so far. I think the bullet range is a little longer in the arcade machine. I can't be wrong with that though. Ooh, nice. Round 4. Yeah, this definitely feels, I don't know, I think there's the version of the game released in the US a little easier than the... Oh, what happened there? I think I must have hit the Astro... Oh, it's the explosion, wasn't it? Oh, okay, that's a dinger, because I don't think that happens in the original game. Let's go, shoot. This is so good. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, realistically, if you want to maximize points, you go for the... Oh, can I get that one before? Yes! Got the formation. That's one of the tricks. If you get a formation attack, you really want to try to take out the formation and then the leader so that they don't leave the screen. Oh, come on. That's spy ship. Nice. Won't be sighting me, that's for sure. Haha. I don't know what else to say, just check this out. It's so good. It's a great conversion. Bosconian's a game I've really warmed up to in recent years. I never really, because it wasn't that popular, it never got a lot of home versions back in the day. and so it's one that, you know, you wouldn't get really past about, but I've just, as sort of, you know, refined my action game palette, and it's sort of influenced some stuff in terms of deving. Oh, no, I broke that formation, darn it. You do really want to try and get those formations together. Yes. I do like the enemies are vulnerable. That makes some of the chaos a little easier to bear. Boom, that's round 6. Ooh, round 6. This is definitely easier than the MSX version. I think I made it to round 4. I'd have to go back and find my footage. I have to admit, I wonder which is the better Atari Bosconian. This or Draconian on the 2600, which I really have to solve. I really want to get my 2600. Make sure my 2600 is working, and get it composite, get it modded for output, whether that's composite or well, it's a junior, so I have to only go composite. Darn, I'd love to get a RGB mod for it, like the board that's developed, because that'd be so cool. But yeah, Draconian looks amazing. I've played a bit of it on emulation, and I ordered the cart because I would like to get my 2600 going. When I do, that would definitely be something I want to show, because oh my goodness. Anyway, smooth scrolling, everything. I'm running out of things to gush about for this game. It's just that good. Definitely like, so it's wonderful to see Atari games this color. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with the Atari where, like, it feels really backwards to actually get some of the new software. I mean, both this and Time Pilot were done by Europeans, and so, you know, it's a free scene release. I mean, I just wish more other retro communities would pick up on things like itch, like Sotronic, RGCD, and Protovision do it for the 64, because that just would make things so much easier to work with. There's a lot of, like, in terms of just getting games to cover, because it's actually really just because it's so darn expensive for US postage. Really, US postage is so darn expensive to deal with for me in Australia that it's a bit of a turn-off sometimes, unless I can actually get like a whole bunch of stuff. Because yeah, there's definitely at least one Atari homebrew release I'd like to get my hands on, but just the postage really outweighs it, and it's a publisher that seems abhorrent to the idea of digital support, and it's like, I don't understand that. I've had that rant in the past, but I think that only doing physical releases is a terrible thing on home computers that can die, because let's face it, machines are slowly but surely dying, and you know, eventually it's getting to the point where really all we have are emulators, and if those games can't be played on emulators, then they're gone, and that's tragic, because it's someone's amazing work lost to the void. Lost to entropy, and that just saddens me, both as an enthusiast and someone who appreciates people's works from on these pieces of hardware, but also someone who creates and has actually seen things lost. Though it's more my professional career, where projects I've worked on I can no longer show people because they don't run on my phone anymore. Because they left stagnant, because they weren't massively successful, and well, things like that. Let's see. I haven't seen it. I think I saw a spaceship once. Yeah, I think the difficulty is definitely a little on the easy side. I know. I'm not complaining, because it's actually just, this becomes so I don't know if it's just the way I play games, but I really love a challenge where I can just get into flow. And I admit, if I didn't have the camera on me right now, I would not be saying a thing other than occasional bits of like, ooh, that was close. Just because, yeah, it's just the way I play games. I won't forget when, oh, it was a long, it's that first the first Oz packs. I was in that Tempest 2000 contest, and I was just doing my run, and I was just in the zone, just like do not disturb. And you know, there's that moment where it's like I'm not just casually playing a game, I'm just playing something and being a little invested in how I do with it. And so I just, you know, pretty much, you know, had my hoodie, threw my hood over my head to say do not disturb. And you know, there's just the person saying hi. It's just like, all I could do is say like, hey, was just not in a mood for talking. Yes, nice. Ooh, almost gotten 100k. This is prime. Oh, new stations and the missiles. I think the missiles certainly do come earlier in the arcade version. Formation attack. In fact, I've never ever been far enough in the arcade version to see if they're actually... Oh, that was silly. I've never actually made it far enough in the arcade version to see if there actually are blue stations. Oh, that was a silly move. Alright, last life. Now, so we're getting to the stage where really going for the outer pods is kind of a bit more economical. Close. Alright, I did take that one out. This is my last life though, so let's see. Balancing up between this being my last life and knowing that I've got about 7 minutes left on the camera, because my DSLR stops recording at 30 minutes, and so I want to sort of try and get as much playtime in before that happens. So let's have a look. Ooh, formation attack. No! There we go. Oh. I love that it's got the... I love that it's just arcade perfect on the presentation. Like, that's the kind of stuff you get here. You don't get on... just don't get on any of the other versions released. Except maybe the X68000 version, but... there we go. Bosconian is utterly amazing on the Atari 8-bits. It is really one of those works of love. Like, just watching the development thread, that's where you can download it. I'm going to link that in the video description, so do check it out. Even if you've only got a 64K machine, so you won't get all the speech, the sidebar really helps indicate all the fancy stuff you need to worry about. Do go check it out. It's an utterly great experience to have, and I'm so glad that I've got a working Atari 8-bit again to enjoy it. Thank you all so very much for watching. I really enjoyed putting this one together. Really happy to be able to play these games on hardware and enjoy the full experience. As always, do click thumbs up. It really means a lot for the channel, for the robots to recommend it to other people. Leave some comments. If you've played the arcade version of Bosconian a bit better than I can, and you can get to this point, and are there different colored star bases? I'd like to know. I think Time Pilot, there's not much to add. I mean, unless you've experienced it with an accelerator board and that extra mode they add. Again, if Time Pilot does get its physical release, I'll have it in the video description. If not, download links from both to run on emulators or, you know, your appropriate storage medium of choice are there. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.